children outside screaming. It has nothing to do with me, I promise.
She's out, but she's fat when she doesn't run. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to push this car?
No.
Let's see if we can find some place to mount this thing.
What about on the gargoyle? Here, come here. Now this one. Come here, boy.
Look at that. Oh, wrong side. Check this out. Got him.
Hey. No. No.
You ready, baby girl?
Ready?
Yeah. Go. So we got her unloaded finally. Might have, should have not left her in the trailer full of water when it was 0 degrees, but we didn't exactly expect early to mid-December to be that way. So yeah. You guys can see the bow in her there. Those used to be straight. That ain't no good, bub.
All right, guys, Jarvis here. About ready to take apart the S200. We managed to damage 2 engines at World Cup for no reason at all. That was Shy. Hey, Shy. Managed to damage 2 engines. Wasn't really planning on it. Wasn't really pushing it that hard. Broken timing chain once, and it's been so I've basically tried to forget what happened. Engine in the car now has some damage to the lower timing set, at least. So I'm gonna tear it down and try to prep it for 2023. Planning on going racing in February, maybe late January, depending. All right, so some history of the car. This is my second S2000 chassis. The first one, I try to get you guys out of that window there. Children outside screaming.
Anarchy! I don't even know what that means, but I love it.
It has nothing to do with me, I promise. Anyway, so first chassis we put together, my intentions were to go 9s. I was, as far as I know, the first K-Series rear-wheel drive out there. We used the Bill Hincher Gen 1 kit, and it's actually still the same kit that's in the car now. I've almost went to the Gen 2 a couple times, and this one just works. I figured out some of the starter issues, and I'm afraid to change. Our goal was 9s. Put the car together, set it up to be as safe as we could. It was a sleeve K, open deck, sleeved O-ringed K by Victory Precision Machine at the time. I did the assembly here. It was an H-beam rod, nothing super fancy at all. 6466 turbo that I had here. I tuned it on a Haltech Elite 1500. The car, we took it all the way to Texas 2K at Houston Raceway Park, and the 5th pass we went 592. Yeah, 592. The next pass after that, I was scared because I had never driven a rear-wheel drive car, let alone on a slick with a trans brake. I let off and pedaled the whole pass and still went 960. So she was pretty bad from the get-go. Lots of converter slip there. The input shaft. The input shaft was incorrect for the pump, so it was just bleeding off a whole bunch of fluid out of the converter, making it super loose, which worked out good for us there, but not so much. We got back and started playing and turning the car up and all kinds of stuff. I think it made like right around 700 horsepower before we went. So it went 960s pretty easily, blew through the converter really bad. I want to say it went 117 in the 8th, because Miles Kerr told me that there's no way I was going to go that fast with a 64, 66, so that's pretty cool. So after that, I just kind of got turbo happy and kept going bigger and bigger and bigger. Later that year, ended up putting, we went to Beach Bend, went 890, and I found out that I had left the fitting out of the compressor housing on the new FP80 we had on the car. So it was a GT4202 base turbo. Left the fitting out of it, put the fitting in it, went 840s at the DSM shootout the next weekend. And that was still on the open deck motor. We were moving a whole lot of water every pass. There's just nothing we could do to keep a head gasket on it at that point. So basically came back, put a closed deck sleeve block in there with a turbo tough rod right before World Cup. Didn't make any power, had all kinds of weird problems, couldn't find out what it was. Got all the way to World Cup, thought I had it licked, and as soon as it left the trans brake, the car would drag itself all the way down. Well, it turns out, and I didn't know it until after, but the drive shaft was too long. So it was hammering its little wiener up into the trans when I'd launched the car the first time, and it was just binding up. So at World Cup, we ended up going 810 at 176, I think it was that year, and that was spraying 100 shot the whole track to keep it up on the converter. Yeah. So the next year, I basically royally screwed everything up. Did a 25.3 cage in the car, made it a little bit too rigid. Had an 8.8 in the back of it with panhard bar, so no wishbone, nothing like that. Spent the whole year trying to get the car to drive straight. Didn't make any real clean hits at all. Went to the shootout, decided I was going to stay in it, ended up crashing, totaling the car. Pulled the setup out of the car, what was salvageable, and ended up buying this roller from Larry Ramnath. The Drag International car. It was orange. It was white before that, and it was very well known for wheelies. So we decided we were going to fix that. I had just crashed the car. We put this car together, went straight to World Cup. Hadn't even driven the car. I had driven the car out of the trailer to the alignment rack and then back off the alignment rack and into the trailer. Went out first pass. We went 9-something with me. Pedal. It was a pedal fest. And then let's see, the next pass went like 890. So anyway, come to round 1, I had not been in the 7s yet, and that was the goal. That was always the goal. It had been like 8.5, I think, and just, I had just crashed a car, so I was a little gun shy. But first round went a 787. So first full pass on the car, 787 at like 182 or something like that. Did pretty well, ended up trashing a 83-85 in the semis against the Red Demon. So we were out at that point. Mechanical failure. All right, so at that point, we put a different turbo in the car. I went to OSW and went a 770 something. Ended up twisting the block up. Came out the next year. Actually, I have to backtrack a little bit. Our first 7 was on an 80 millimeter FP, and we went to Florida on one too. The next year was 83, 85. Went to Texas 2K, went 735 off the trailer. Ended up later that year going 732. Trashed 83, 85 that year in the semis. So basically, I got sick of overspinning turbochargers. So it being an automatic car, it can't just put but won't spool very well. So any sort of a T6 chassis, like a large frame turbo, is not going to work very well. So we ended up, I wanted to compound the car. I talked about it for a while. I paid a lot of attention to the jet racing car. I talked to Kevin Jewer a whole lot. He's a good friend in the DSM world. And he basically spoon-fed me all kinds of information. And so I decided to give it a shot. I bought Kerry Bales' GTX 50 2088 and used a Borg S369 as my small turbo. Fairly successful right off the bat. It worked. It worked a lot better than I thought it would. But it took 30 passes before I got the car back into the fours, and it was just literally learning the compounds, the boost control, and what they liked and stuff like that. At that point, kind of just took off. We went to the finals at a small tire race. Really successful. At the end of that year, ended up going to lights out, and we're going a 459 in the 8th, and going 2 rounds through LDR when we shouldn't have. So that's pretty cool. Daniel from the Soft Spot came and videoed and hung out with us, and that was pretty awesome. So basically after that, I decided to mess everything up. We went to the Derby, and I didn't know it, but we had cracked the cylinder head. Water everywhere. I almost thought somebody pulled a spark plug out and dumped a bunch of water on our engine overnight. We'd went a 732 on the pass before that, clicking it off at, God, I don't even think I went 900 feet. Still went a 732. So the goal was 6s, but a little tentative. The car's very small, and I'm kind of a sissy. So ended up breaking the car, coming out the next year and breaking the car, cracked a head in Texas. So basically the whole year consisted of cracking heads. Cracked the head doing a dyno video at Haltech, blowing water everywhere in our cool Haltech Heroes video. So we started working with 4-piston on their race cast cylinder head, and things have slowly started turning around. I wanted to try to run a slick because of all the prep, limited prep lately. That I've ruined half of my year this year. Went to World Cup, had nothing but problems. So that's where we sit right now. I'm sitting in the car, and I'm going to start taking it apart and making plans for this year and get it rocking. We left the car in the trailer with water still in it. We did dump some antifreeze in it and pump it through, but apparently it wasn't enough. I've seen a lot of people having RV antifreeze freeze up and and stuff like that was still concentrated. So I'm hoping I didn't blow a hole in my intercooler anywhere and the cylinder head and everything else. But I'm going to go start taking this thing apart. Just wanted to get you guys caught up.